President Joe Biden to announce a disinformation board to crack down on disinformation.
The objective of the board is to prevent disinformation and misinformation from traveling around the country in a range of communities.
This has rightly been compared to the Ministry for Truth that Hitler, Stalin, and other dictators had. It completely ignores the reality of the true nature of the disinformation we've seen in recent years. The topics that the tech giants and the Democrats claimed were disinformation were actually accurate and factual.
Nothing has changed about what I said yesterday. The president does not get involved in the business dealings of his son.
Well, let me be clear. Any American who wants to come home, we will get you home.
Well, unfortunately, they did not come home. Joining me right now to separate the truth from disinformation is Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson, who sent a letter to DHS Secretary Mayorkas this week asking for information about this Disinformation Governance Board, and James Comer, ranking member of the Oversight Committee, who has documented influence peddling by Hunter Biden. Gentlemen, thanks very much for joining us this morning. Ron Johnson, let me kick this off with you and get your reaction to this new division the Biden administration is starting, Disinformation Governance Board.
Good morning, Maria. Well, the First Amendment to our Constitution states that Congress shall pass no law abridging the freedom of speech. So we've passed no such law. The president's job is to faithfully execute the law, so he has no authority to do this. This is Orwellian. This is a ministry of truth. And the person they've appointed is a Democrat propagandist. She pushed the Russian collusion with the Trump campaign hoax. She pushed the hoax that the laptop was some form of Russian information campaign. Those are probably two of the most egregious and I would say effective piece of disinformation. They had more impact on our body politic, on our elections, than anything else I could think of, and certainly had a greater impact than anything Russia ever could have dreamed of. And she was leading the charge on that disinformation. You can't make this up. This is the exact person that this administration now has appointed to head this unconstitutional disinformation governance board. This is outlandish. It should not be funded. It should never be established.
Well, I mean, we have the tweets from Nina Jankowicz right here. She told us that Hunter Biden's laptop was disinformation. She told us that Trump colluded with Russia. I mean, it's all here in plain sight, Senator, and yet they're moving forward just like they moved forward with a vaccine mandate, which was also deemed unconstitutional. Is this going to pass? Can they do this with nobody stopping them?
Well, they just do it through executive order. I mean, they'll do it through the agencies. But again, they have no authority to do it whatsoever. In my letter, I asked Secretary Mayorkas, under what authority are you establishing this governance board? But again, they are brazen. They do what they accuse others of doing. They flood the town square with all kinds of information repeatedly, time and time again, and it's all about covering up. You know, Maria, we are now witnessing what President Obama, what President Biden meant when they say they were going to fundamentally transform America. They are fundamentally destroying this country with open borders, 40-year high inflation, record gasoline prices, and now something to abridge the freedom of speech. Every American should awaken to the urgency of the moment. Every American should be frightened about what Democrat governments and what Democrat policies are doing to destroy this nation. They are fundamentally destroying America.
And Jankowicz herself, of course, perfectly reflects this administration on three levels. The first is that she is the last person to be an arbiter of truth because she herself has been a prolific purveyor of disinformation. This is someone who is a Russiagate collusion monger who's promoted the work of Christopher Steele, told the untruth that the Steele dossier, which is at the core of the entire Russiagate fraud, itself was funded by Republicans. Not true. This is someone who is also partisan, something that you wouldn't want if you were supposed to have a neutral arbiter of truth, which, of course, again, the U.S. government shouldn't be in the business of. This is someone who tweeted, hashtag I'm with her with respect to Hillary Clinton, and quoted Hillary Clinton in 2016 with this ill-fated statement that the most dangerous thing, I'm paraphrasing here, about Donald Trump would be that he would embolden and empower ISIS when, of course, Donald Trump helped destroy ISIS. ultimately. Someone who claimed, of course, this is the biggest promoter of untruth here, someone who claimed that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation, when, of course, that was an American information operation, in effect. The New York Post reporting there has been vindicated.
Islam is not our adversary. Muslims are peaceful and tolerant people and have nothing whatsoever to do with terrorism.
Det här är människor som visar med all tydlighet att de inte ställer upp på det här demokratiska samhället.
This week, the White House tweeted, when President Biden took office, millions were unemployed and there was no vaccine available. But as even the most casual political observer would note, Biden took office January 20th, 2021, at least a month after he took the COVID vax. He made a big deal out of it. In fact, a month earlier, he tweeted this: "Today, I received the COVID-19 vaccine." Then on January 13th, still a week before he took office, the same White House Twitter account posted this video with the caption, "President-elect Biden received his second dose of the COVID-19 vaccine." So it appears they're not even trying to hide the fact that they're lying.
Even in the face of Biden coming up with this new division in government to claim that he's going to slap down on disinformation, when in fact all the disinformation is coming from his office?
The US government under George H.W. Bush made an offer to Russian President Mikhail Gorbachev. It suggested if Germany became a NATO member, NATO would stop expanding, not 1 inch eastwards. No new members. Today, the US says it made no such promise, that no such deal was ever struck, but hundreds of memos, meeting minutes, and transcripts from US archives indicate otherwise. Nevertheless, Moscow bought the offer. It demolished the Warsaw Pact in the hope that the West would follow suit, that NATO too would be dissolved. But that never happened. NATO refused to cease operations. And to add insult to injury, they kept the door for membership open. Russia saw it as a stab in the back, and NATO kept pushing the dagger deeper. Look at this map. NATO started out with 12 founding members, but since the Soviet Union fell, it has radically expanded eastwards. In 1999, Poland, Hungary, the Czech Republic joined NATO. In 2004, there was another wave of expansion. 7 Central and Eastern European nations were made NATO members. Some of them were former Soviet republics. In 2009, Albania and Croatia joined NATO. And the most recent entries were Montenegro and North Macedonia, both situated in Russia's backyard. It does not end there. As of 2021, NATO officially recognized 3 more aspiring members: Bosnia and Herzegovina, Georgia, and Ukraine. Last we checked, NATO was also in talks with Sweden, Finland, and Serbia for membership. So to put it simply, much of Eastern Europe, which once used to be part of the Soviet Union, has now joined NATO, and this happened despite Russia's protests and warnings. The last reasonably friendly warning from Moscow came in the year 2007. Vladimir Putin addressed the annual Munich conference, where he said, and I'm quoting, "NATO has put its frontline forces on our borders. This expansion represents a serious provocation that reduces the level of mutual trust, and we have the right to ask against whom is this expansion intended and what happened to the assurances our Western partners made after the dissolution of the Warsaw Pact." A disinformation board is very dangerous territory for any government. The single most concerning thing that we all face as a society is having our freedom of speech blocked, is having the freedom to discuss ideas eroded, the freedom for journalists to independently investigate and report on topics and bring that information to the public.
You might not be aware, but the abolition of democracy by the global elites continues. On March 3rd, the EU Commission was authorized by the Council to renegotiate the treaty with the World Health Organization on behalf of the member states. Under the guise of improving global pandemic response, the plan is to allow the WHO to seize executive governance powers of the member states in a case of a pandemic. Granting governance powers to non-elected body is the exact opposite of democratic recourse and takes away any possibility for the people to hold officials accountable. This amounts to no less than disenfranchising the people. We, as elected representatives by the people, for the people, must not allow this to happen. I am imploring you, do what you were elected to do. Look into this and protect the rights of the people you were elected by to act in their best interest. And to all the people in Europe, I would like to say, start acting now. Write to your MEPs. Let them know you will not tolerate to be stripped of your rights to democratic recourse. Let them know that any MEP supporting this or voting for this will not ever get your vote again.
When Mark Zuckerberg controls everything in America, you will know it's a truly democratic system. Justin Trudeau understands this. He ran over members of his middle class with horses because that's what it took to preserve democracy in Canada. And then he went farther. He seized truckers' bank accounts. And then he shut down a coffee shop that served people who didn't vote for him. That's what democracy looks like.